What is up, YouTube? Ncaa31 here. Ncaa 12 online ranked, going through the spread playbooks, and this game is, I'm using Texas against Arkansas, and this is the Oregon playbook I'm using, and playing the 4-2-5 defensive playbook as well. When going through and doing an overview of all these spread playbooks, I typically like to play with a pocket passer, a balanced quarterback, and also a mobile dual threat type of quarterback. That way you get a good idea, what the playbook plays like, or how best to use these spread playbooks with whichever kind of quarterback you have. Some playbooks are more effective, obviously, if you have a talented dual threat guy, while some are more suited for having a balanced or a pocket passer and don't really suit the dual threat quarterback type that well. Like, I'll use the one I just did, Clemson, for example. Clemson was a tough playbook because while I felt I could run it with a pocket passer when I was using it with, say, Notre Dame, using Dane Christ or Tommy Rees, I felt like in order to get the most out of it, I needed a really talented dual threat kind of guy to really run the playbook and open it up to its fullest potential. And that's the way the spread is. The spread's going to be different things with different type of quarterbacks. And I wanted to use the Oregon playbook again, because even though I already did summarize it, and I was kind of disappointed with it, I was inspired to just give it another look after watching Oregon USC, because I just love watching Oregon play. Oregon's probably the funnest team to watch in college football. I can see why they're getting so many athletes. It's just a fun style of football to play. I mean, if you're a speed guy, because I was having a conversation with one of my friends. How in the world is Oregon getting all of these, fast players out of California, Texas, and the South? How are they getting them to go to school in freaking Eugene, Oregon? The answer is how they play. I mean, it's just a fun, productive, offense to play in. And you look at the running backs that have come out of Oregon as well, that have, found success in the NFL. So it's definitely an attractive place to play. You have a fun, fast-paced offense. The stadium is a total garbage dump. I'm sorry, Oregon fan. That stadium is a trash pit. But you guys fill that up, and you guys create a great atmosphere. I got to give that to you. So you're playing in front of a raucous atmosphere every Saturday. You have a chance to compete for BCS bowls. And from what I've seen, the females are pretty quality too. If you don't think that doesn't matter to an 18-year-old kid coming out of high school, you got another thing coming. So it's an attractive package. So I was inspired to look at the playbook again. And don't get me wrong, it's a good playbook, but it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like the Oregon offense. And I'm not sure, I can't put my finger on it why. EA either has never seen Oregon play, doesn't understand how their offense works, or basically said, you know what, we'll take Auburn's playbook and we'll tweak some formations and rename some plays and hope nobody notices. But it's basically a Auburn playbook with fewer power shotgun runs and more motion option. That's basically the Oregon playbook in this game. So anyway, let's talk about the chaos that erupted this past weekend. Quote-unquote BCS chaos. How would you like to be Houston sitting at 11-0 and nobody takes it seriously, and rightfully so. Houston hasn't earned the right to play for much of anything. It'll be interesting to see who they get matched up with. I hope they don't put Houston up against Boise State in a BCS bowl game or a major January 1st bowl game. I want to see Houston. The team that's probably going to be left out in the cold is Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is sitting there at number 5 at 10-1. Has a, better than 50-50 shot at beating Clemson. I think Clemson's a fraud. I always do. I mean, Clemson's just typical Clemson. I mean, they're 9-2, obviously, but whenever you expect major things from Clemson, they just always let you down. And it wouldn't surprise me to see them lose to South Carolina this week and be a 9-3 team going into the ACC championship game. But if Virginia Tech takes care of their business and finishes the season with 1 loss, I think they're still locked in at number 5 or number 6, unless LSU loses or Bama loses to Auburn, or Oklahoma beats Okie State, which I think is very possible. And Oklahoma State's another weird team. I don't know what to make of Bob Stoops in Oklahoma. I mean, Robert Griffin is amazing. Amazing player, electric player, a right-handed Michael Vick, although I think as a college player he's a better thrower than Vick was. Robert Griffin is just an incredible player, but they had no business losing that game. They had no business losing to Texas Tech. It's like Oklahoma's become one of those teams that loses at least 1 game a season that they have no right losing. But I want to see if Houston, gets a shot at a big-time bowl game, have them play a Vatek, if Vatek gets left out in the cold here. Just to see how they would do. I think they get kicked in the mouth, but I'd like to see it anyway, just to see how it would shake out. I'm kind of rooting for Arkansas this weekend because I just want to see more hysteria. The thing I love about the college football season, and why I hope the system never changes, even though we know it will at some point, is that, the college football regular season just gradually builds in intensity. Every week matters. You have to take care of your business and win your games every week in order to control your own destiny. And every week, the pressure builds. I mean, every game this past weekend had major stakes, something major on the line to it. And if you have a playoff system, what happened this weekend is just another regular season weekend. Those games don't mean anything because, other than for seeding, because we know that Oklahoma's going to be in a playoff. We know that Arkansas and LSU are going to be in a playoff no matter who wins, next week. We know that Oregon would be in a playoff. But something major was on the line for those teams. And as the season gets late, you see who rises to the occasion and who cracks under the pressure. And that's the beauty of the college football season. It's the most meaningful regular season in sports, and I would hate to see that get watered down by a playoff system. That's just my take on that. I've never been an advocate for a playoff system in college football. And how about Arizona? Arizona hiring Rich Rod. That's a good hire for them. That's a really good hire for them. Rich Rod will win there. Rich Rod's a proven coach. His system works. And that conference is the perfect conference for both his spread option and also his 3-3-5 stack. The way those teams play in the Pac-12. And he'll find Arizona more like West Virginia. They'll leave him alone. They'll let him turn over the roster. They'll be happy with going, 7-4, 6-5 the first couple of years as he brings in players who fit the system. And when he gets them, he'll be winning 10, 11, 12 games. And he'll be competing for Pac-12 championships. There's no doubt in my mind he'll do that. If you can recruit speed and athletes at West Virginia, you can recruit them at Arizona. And he was getting them at Michigan, but you know, the cauldron at Michigan was just too hot for me. I think that job, as far as the pressure that comes with it and the demands that the Michigan community puts on their coach, what they expect their coach to be, was a little bit over his head, and he didn't quite, you know, fit that mold. So I'm glad to see Rich Rodriguez back in college football. Also because we get to use West Virginia's playbook next year in Ncaa 13. So we have another spread playbook to use. The Rich Rod spread will be back. And I'd like to see Urban Meyer in the Big Ten also at Ohio State. That'd be fun also. Even though I'm not quite sure, you know, what the NCAA, if anything, is going to do to them further down the road. And that brings me to USC. I'm not quite sure what USC's situation is. I know they can't compete for the Pac-12 championship. They can't go to the bowl game. But from what I understand, the scholarship reductions haven't hit yet. And if that's true, you know, I wonder, you know, how much success they're going to have in the next 2 to 3 years, because, you know, that hurts. That means you have to pretty much recruit perfectly. The guys that you get all have to be what their press clippings and their recruiting ratings, you know, say they are, and you also have to find some diamonds in the rough. Now, USC still has talent, obviously. We saw that in display. You know, Matt Barkley is a heck of a quarterback. I'm really impressed by Matt Barkley. And they have very good wide receivers and good backs. They don't quite have, you know, that ridiculous amount of depth that they had when Pete Carroll really had them rolling. And of course we know why. Pete Carroll had those kids rolled up in Malibu beach houses, you know, to get those kids to go there. But they don't quite have, you know, just that sick depth. So they were just rolling out, you know, defensive linemen and linebackers and running backs just coming off the assembly line. So I wonder how that's going to affect good old Lane Kiffin down the road. This is just a really fun time of year when it comes to college football. More big games this week, and then we have the conference championship games, and then bowl season. You gotta love bowl season. I really like bowl season. I watch pretty much most of the games. It's like an extra football season, while the NFL goes into its home stretch. So there's plenty of college football left and plenty of shakeout to be determined to see what game we get. And it's going to be fun to see how it plays out. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace. He picks it up. Tackle at the 36-yard line. Not a good time to fumble the football. And that guy feels horrible about it. He's got to forget about it. Go out there and play hard the next time.